After discussing each boss's strategies and weaknesses in the previous video, here are some general guides that will help you in this railway. Keep in mind that this is purely subjective and might be wrong. First of all, and the most important, is not to be afraid to let your sinners to go buy some milk. We have a backup as a mechanic now, so for anyone that went away, someone will replace them. So it will always be 6 sinner fighting unless there are more than 6 that went to buy milk. But that does not mean that you can be careless, especially if the unit is the core of your team. Secondly, it might be challenging, but manage your ego resources carefully. The mirror fights might be easy if you just AoE ego them, but they cost a lot. Sometimes your team is not built for them. If, for example, you are using a lot of ego with gloom on them and know you will need more for the upcoming section, bringing units that can generate gloom is nice. Sinclair, with impending day passive, can generate a lot of resources. But if I recall correctly, Slot and Pride are hard to generate for him. Third, level up your IDs. While you can play with low-leveled sinners, it is hard and truthfully, there's no reason to. The higher you level, the easier it is to clash and the more damage you have. You can tank more damage since you have a higher defense level and HP. The only downside to leveling up your IDs is you don't get SP for most of your sinners if your level is higher than the enemies. But for this railway, the enemies start at level 45, so raising your units to level 45 is perfectly fine. Fourth, remember that you can fight the mirror IDs without clashing with them via unopposed attacks if your unit is fast enough. That's why AoE egos are very nice, since you can stagger them, making their high rolling skills or egos useless. A nice ego to make your sinner outspeed the enemies is Cross-Eyed View, which give you 3 haste for a relatively low cost. Speaking of ego, let's move on to number 5. If you need more powerful AoE ego options, remember that you can borrow some of them. Some egos I recommend are in the previous video, but here are some of them. They are Ishmael's Blend's Obsession, Yisang's Sun Shower, Otis' Ebony Stem, Heathcliff's Yasunyata, and Faust's Fluid Sac. Speaking of borrowing, we will discuss our 6th point. Do not get fixated on bringing 12 decent units for each section. If you don't have, for example, a good Mersault ID, do not get fixated on borrowing them if it's just to fill a good unit slot. Instead, try to borrow the core units of your team if you don't have any, or just for ego that you don't have but are essential. It's also sometimes more efficient to bring some units just for their support passives. And let's bring us to our 7th point. Learn about enemies' gimmicks and use them to your advantage. My last video is an excellent way to learn about their gimmicks, and I am pretty sure I talk about many of them and how to counter them. The example is King of Binds. It might have a lot of gimmicks, but you know it is weak to slot and sinking, so you use Tremor or Sinking Tape against it. While not being that important, it is still nice to say that you can use Dest Power to slow down enemies. This is especially useful in scenarios where the enemies have strong AoE ego that might be able to delete your essential units for the next fight. Keep in mind that Dante's Pigritia can only be used once per railway, not once per day like in other game modes. The last and the most important one is to ask questions if you don't understand it. There are many places where you can ask, such as Project Moon Community Discord or even my Discord, where I or other people can help with your problems more accurately and personally. The link is in the description, by the way, please join. That's about it for this Refracted Railway for general guides and tips. If you have any question or want to add more, feel free to do so in the comments section. Thank you for watching. If you like content like this, please consider subscribing. Goodbye!